the Civilian Oversight Agency. The ACRB is authorized to receive, investigate, mediate, and adjudicate citizen complaints against Atlanta police and corrections officers. We are also tasked with increasing citizen awareness and understanding of the agency and conducting community education. With me today are Sheena Robertson, ACRB Investigations Manager, and Maola Smith, ACRB Project Manager.
Hello.
For the benefit of those who may not know about the ACRB, the agency was created in 2007 after the death of Ms. Katherine Johnson, a 92-year-old Black grandmother, community mother who was killed in 2006 by Atlanta police and corrections officers during an illegal raid. The city created the agency in response to citizens' demands and protests for independent investigations of alleged police misconduct. As a critical part of public safety, the agency has faithfully continued to work since opening its doors in 2008. Public safety and crime reduction requires more than just officers on the street and equipment. It requires strong, efficient, fair, and timely officer accountability systems as a check and balance on officer actions and all things that impact citizens as related to law enforcement. We're blessed here in Atlanta because the ACRB is a shining example of civilian oversight, what civilian oversight is supposed to be and how it is to function. It's through the investments of funding, powerful legislation, committed board staff members and volunteers, and involved citizens that we have been able to make a mark in civilian oversight. I just want to bring a note real quick. I was recently in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I saw and felt the post-George Floyd impacts of when a city does not address officer accountability with the same vigor as they do in addressing the concerns of the police department. It was saddening because they had years of choices before time ran out. Officer accountability and public safety must be hand in hand. We'll go to slide 2, and you'll see our mission, our vision statement. It is our vision to be known for integrity and competence and results, be recognized as national experts in improving community and police relationships, and provide the best civilian oversight of a local law enforcement agency in the nation. It is our mission to provide citizens of Atlanta credible, fair, independent investigations and recommendations on Atlanta police and correctional officers' misconduct complaints with the goal of correcting behavior and promoting the highest standards of conduct. On slide 3, our agency is committed to, our agency is committed to addressing citizen complaints about officer misconduct and supporting the work of law enforcement officers who understand their relationship with the community members is critical to a safe community. Our work can be divided into reactive and proactive work. In reactive work, the harm to a citizen has already been done. This is most often seen in complaints that we receive and investigate. Our proactive work focuses on reducing the likelihood of harm to citizens. This is mostly recognized in studies, reports, and involves initiatives not necessarily driven by citizen complaints. During this presentation, I will highlight some of our work in FY23, speak to the proposed budget, and why additional funding is needed to address our reactive and proactive work to fulfill the ACRB's mission. Now on slide 3, the ACRB organization is comprised of a citizen board and city staff. The board has an authorized strength of 15 members. The board is led by Atlanta Planning and Advisory Board member who's representing neighborhood planning units N through R, Ms. Dorothy Hurst, and the board's primary responsibility is adjudicating and completing investigations. The executive director reports to the board. The city staff is also authorized for 14 FTEs and handles the day-to-day operations, which includes direct citizen contact, receiving, investigating, mediating citizen complaints, and conducting community engagement and education. On slides 4 and 5, I'll discuss the key metrics and our highlights from FY23. Our key metrics include received complaints and investigations, APD chief percentage of discipline, ACRB sustained complaints, number of board determinations, number of sustained complaints, number of community engagement activities. As we look at our highlights and the metrics going further, you'll see that the ACRB received 137 complaints, assigned 55 complaints for full investigation, completed 36 full investigations, adjudicated 33 complaints, which required board members to review 3,044 pages of investigated documents. I want to emphasize that because this is an active board who has to constantly read. The board sustained 33% of the allegations. The agency participated in the Atlanta Police Leadership Institute program and APD recruit presentations throughout the year, conducted over 200 outreach activities, and the APD discipline percentage rate on ACRB sustained allegations was 58%. The running percentage from 2020 to present is 64%. 2020 was an inflection point. Our goal, though, is to have the APD at 75% and greater. We believe that percentage will accurately reflect the work of the board and the agency, and so that's what we're continuing to shoot for, and we're glad to see that those numbers have risen over the years. As it relates to coming back off of the pandemic, we've been slowly resuming our operation. We lost a little ground on our efforts to increase citizen awareness and understanding of the agency because we were no longer able to do during the pandemic, we weren't able to do the direct citizen contact that always helped us increase citizens' awareness of us. Now, if we turn to page 5, you see a summary of our operations. As you will notice, the city has continued to make an investment in the agency. Last year, that investment consisted of funds for us to secure a new space to allow us to be able to work better. And this year, you'll see that we received funding to pursue our realignment, restructuring, and the fourth investigator, which I'll get into in a moment. As you'll see, also, our headcount breakdown is 14. And if you go to this next slide, where I talked about the increase, what we're looking at is from the last fiscal year, 158,000. When we had, in FY23, we had 12 active FTEs and 2 unfunded. This year, we received funding for those FTEs. And so our total operating is a 158 increase over last year. And those key drivers, as I mentioned earlier, restructuring, realignment, number of officer-involved shootings, and retention. We're going forward to slide 8. This slide shows our summary of our operations by major categories. As you will see here, a little less than 800,000 for personnel, approximately 350,000 for contracts, and 86,000 for other, close to 87,000 for other. Slides 9 and 10 cover our priorities. Which I mentioned earlier, securing the fourth investigator. This is important because the APD has about 25, a little more than 25 officer-involved shootings that we have authority to investigate. And once the GBI and the Fulton County District Attorneys completes their investigations, those complaints, those files will be coming to us for an investigation. And having that fourth investigator will allow us to focus on those complaints, on those incidents, without impacting our investigative timeline. As you know, delays in getting information to the public creates an appearance that we, the board, and the city is not taking officer accountability seriously. Also, our priority is, as I mentioned earlier, realignment and restructuring, which is important because we have so many initiatives and things that we're responsible for since we've grown, that we need to operate more efficiently and thereby being more effectively in the accomplishing our goals, moving towards our mission. So we want to increase APD policy reviews and recommendations, continue to grow our outreach and education program, reduce our investigative timelines. We would like to be below 120 days. We are currently at 161. Increase the number of closed investigations and continue to make recommendations related to APD, ACD, and our ACRB, on our ACRB sustained complaints and discipline. Engage the youth on police interactions. For years, we've been focusing on youth. We want to increase that because that critical stage age between, actually grades between 5th and 8th on up to the high school is a critical time to be able to get those young citizens to understand what proper police interactions look like. So we're continuing to push for that. Also implement the board training plan, increase review frequency of APD response disagreement letters. I believe that's going to help us close that gap between the percentage where we are and where we want to be, above the 75%. One of the new areas that we will be focusing on is the after-action reviews of officers who have been suspended and terminated, and participating in officer recruit selection. We believe those areas are important because there may be items that we can identify that can help us ensure that we are contributing to ensuring that Atlanta has the best officers on the street. And we also want to continue to expand our outreach through social media and direct contact. In closing, we will continue to provide the best civilian oversight in the nation by building on our efforts to increase community awareness of the agency, reducing our investigative timelines, and pursuing proactive initiatives, some of which I just mentioned. As also mentioned, we are in the process of revamping our board training program and increasing training opportunities for our staff, and with the restructuring, increasing our ability to retain the talented staff we have to fight off the new civilian oversight agencies that are constantly trying to poach our staff. Before the year's out, we should be moving into our new space on the first floor of City Hall Tower, which will provide more operational space and greater visibility. With that said, this concludes my ACRB's FY24 budget presentation. I want to thank the City Council and Mayor Dickens and his administration for your continued support of our work. At this time, I'll take any questions that you have.
All right, thank you. I'll just kick off with an observation or two. Colleagues, their portion of the budget can be found in your hymnal on page 377. So your budget's pretty modest. It reflects sustained growth. It's very straightforward, or it is to me. What I need probably a little help in understanding are your performance metrics on page 380. So number of complaints, and here they are, but then how do you arrive at the target that you've arrived at for what you think should be the correct
Yes,
number.
how we arrive at the target?
Yeah.
Okay, for our target, targets for complaints are tricky. So we have to use historical analysis of the complaints. Historically, complaints have increased by around 20%, 25% to 30%. So we use that as our target. Some people will say, well, do we want to actively encourage complaints? No, what we want to do is encourage people to know that they can file a complaint. And if people file a complaint, that's good. If they don't, then that's not so good. But we need to make sure that they're aware. Now, the filing of complaints, as you talk about projecting out, I mean, that depends on largely what the police officers do outside and citizens' awareness of us.
And then what about your dismissal target?
Yeah, the dismissals, most of our dismissals, the majority of our dismissals are because citizens from other jurisdictions want to file with our agency. We have a large number of out-of-jurisdiction dismissals that come to our office. Unfortunately, though, when we're looking at dismissals, we can't just outright say, oh, we can't do this. There has to be a little work to make sure it is not an APD officer. If someone says, I was stopped by an officer and, they don't give us any information about what jurisdiction the officer was in, but we have to dig in and try to find out who was the officer that stopped the individual. We have officers from all the surrounding areas who receive complaints through our office that we have to let the citizen know. We can't investigate it. You have to contact the other jurisdiction.
Okay. Questions or comments for ACRB? Ms. Winston.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for being here today. One quick question. I just wanted to know if you could give some examples of the type of contracts that you guys use that are on your proposed budget. Just trying to get an idea of what some of those are used for.
Yes. Most of our contracts are related to community outreach. We're talking about the radio, TVs, billboard ads, MARTA ads, things of those nature. And then we have the contracts that are related to our transcription services, related to, two transcription services, also related to any training that we're trying to, like right now we're working on trying to put in place some trainers who will actually be able to help us implement our training program for the board. So that's one of the things that we're also looking at. What else is it?
So mostly like communications, marketing, PR, that type of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yes, mostly communication. And then also our complaint database that allows us to have the portal.
Okay. I just wanted clarification. I didn't know if it was for actual contractors or if it was some, different services, but it seems like it's for services, communications, and those things. So I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, we're going to let you get back to your jobs. Appreciate the very straightforward presentation. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, I see law out there. Is this the total of your presenting team? All right, we're ready if y'all are. We're a little early, but. And law's budget detail can be found on page 165.